Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name's Charlotte and this is Ben and we are the Kenny Martins. If you're looking at booking a group trip and not sure what mistakes to avoid, well, we've just done one with 6 adults and boy, were some things a challenge. Let's break down 10 mistakes that we made so that you don't have to. When you're booking rooms, it's a very easy process, and the 2 rooms can easily be connected, or 3 rooms, or 4 rooms, depending on what size of group you are. For us, it was 2 rooms, and booking it was fine. What I wish I'd have known straight away was that each room doesn't have the exact same configuration of beds. In most staterooms, there is a bunk bed which comes out of the ceiling, there is a sofa, and in some, there is a pull down bed. But in certain rooms, there isn't the pull down bed. When I initially booked, I booked our 2 rooms, 3 rooms apart from each other. So we were right next door to Kira and Tom. Unfortunately, none of the rooms there had the pull down bed that we needed. And we are a little on the curvier side, shall we say. So none of us would have fit the weight limit of the bunk bed that comes out of the ceiling. So I had to move the room, unfortunately. To make sure that our new room had a pull down bed, I checked out a stateroom tour on YouTube. So advice to you, always check what bed configuration is in each room, especially if you're booking for adults. If you are lucky enough to be a Silver Castaway member and above, you've already been on a Disney cruise. But with that, it becomes a little bit tricky when you are traveling with first time cruisers. So, because I was a Silver Castaway member, we had 2 different check in dates, which made things a little bit tricky when we were trying to get the same port arrival time. So, just to be aware that if you've been on a cruise before and you're booking for first timers, you are going to have to check in twice. Booking activities for more than one stateroom was really easy because the reservations were linked. However, when I was trying to move them around and cancel them, it came a little bit more tricky. I wanted to do some specialty tastings on board, and I booked several different ones and then asked the guys, which ones do you want to do? One example is I booked an old fashioned tasting, having no idea what an old fashioned is. Nobody wanted to do it, and so I had to cancel it. I was able to cancel it for Ben and Martin, but I wasn't able to cancel it for Tom. And for some reason, it kept showing up as a booking of Tom going to this old fashioned tasting on his own. I ended up having to ring Disney itself, and the lovely lady from Peru, and I've forgot her name, she told me that if I wanted to cancel it, I would have had to gone into their reservation, but she could cancel it on the phone. So just be aware that if you are booking for 2 rooms, you have to go into their reservation to cancel it. And sometimes even that doesn't work. So it's a quick call to Disney to get it cancelled. You know, earlier when I mentioned different port arrival times? Yeah. Here's a mistake that we made. We turned up at the earliest port arrival time, which was our stateroom, and that was 2:15. Unfortunately, they wouldn't have let Tom and Kira come in with us early, so we had to wait. However, their port arrival time was 2:45, but they'd already opened the queue line for 2:45, so we went in there. We ended up boarding the ship by 2:30. Whilst turning up to the earliest port arrival time is a mistake because you are not allowed to take that second group through early, the queue for their port arrival time will most likely be open and you'll probably get on early anyway. One massive mistake, although not really a mistake because Jeff, the taxi driver in the UK, is an amazing guy. A mistake is not getting a taxi big enough. Now, it was big enough for the 6 of us, as in humans. However, the amount of cases that you have for a cruise, it's surprisingly a lot. You end up taking so much more because you end up changing your clothes, there's changes of outfits. If you want to Disney bound, there's Disney bounding. So a cruise you tend to take more than what you would on a normal holiday where you sat around a pool. So just to be aware that if you are a larger group, make sure you take in account for the amount of luggage that you have and book accordingly. Another thing to be aware of is the credit card that is booked on the room when you are booking or checking in. If you have put one card down, they will take payments from that card. If, however, when you get on board and you switch to have more than one card, they will take the payments off that first card and split them out onto the second as well. If, for example, you've already sorted out money, you've transferred it across to the person that was booking it in anticipation that it was going to come out of their card, and you put a new card on the room, they will stop the payment from that main card and allocate any charges that were assigned to you personally to that new card. So just be aware that they will do some jiggery pokery whilst you're on the ship. Whilst we're talking about credit cards, charges don't come out until it happened. If you've booked an activity on board, like a martini tasting, that will only come out once it's happened. Now, excursions, they will come out pretty much the first day that you're there. So just be aware, excursions will come out as you're on board, and then the activities that you book will come out as they've happened. Booking the cheapest flight for the group isn't always the best. We found that the flights that we booked had delays, and I don't know whether that was because there were cheaper flights or not, but that might have a bearing. So just bear in mind that the cheapest flights, which are oftentimes a later flight or from a different location, might not always be the best, and it oftentimes brings in additional costs like a hotel or a taxi from a further point away from where you actually need to be. Because it was Martin's birthday, we were lucky enough to get a tour of the bridge. However, it was limited to our stateroom. Now, these bridge tours are typically reserved for Pearl members or members of concierge, so we were extremely lucky to actually be able to tour that bridge. However, it was only isolated to our room. So just be aware that if you're wanting to do something for the whole group, whoever birthday it is, it will just be their stateroom. Because I bought the photo pass for this cruise, it was allocated to my stateroom. So anybody that was in my stateroom was able to put their photo straight onto the card. However, Kira and Tom weren't allowed to do that. For some reason, it didn't transfer it and allocate it over to Kira and Tom as well. So just be aware that if only one of you has bought the photo pass, you're going to have to make sure that the person that's got it goes first and says, all of these people are on my room. So that way, all of you get your photos and there isn't any missing. Now, something that we learnt very quickly, and a bonus for you, is create a WhatsApp group before you go. Whilst you're on board, the Wi-Fi can be very expensive, but there is a free Wi-Fi that you use with the app, and WhatsApp works on that free Wi-Fi. So make sure before you get on board, you have a separate WhatsApp group with everybody on the cruise in that WhatsApp group so that you can easily contact each other and organise a meeting place on board, because trust me, you can lose track of people just like that on a massive cruise ship. So make sure that you are connected through WhatsApp. Whilst we made a few mistakes on our trip, at least I hope that one of these might help you not make the same mistake when you go on yours. Are you thinking of booking that friend's cruise trip? I say do it. You will have so much fun. Just make sure that you don't do any of the mistakes that we did. If you've liked this video, give us a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, please do subscribe. We are trying to get to that 500 mark. So please, please, please help us get there. We would be eternally grateful. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next one in the cruise series. We have so much more from the cruise coming up, and we have some exciting news for future adventures. So make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.